Hello! I am Moodida, and welcome back to Satisfactory Update 1.2. In this save, I'm using a few of the new game modes that have just been added. I need 100 times the space elevator parts to complete each phase. Each machine takes 5 times the normal power. The resource nodes and their purity are both random. In the last video, I finished phase 2 just before I hit the 107 hour mark of the save. Even though I'm making those space elevator parts at a decent rate, it still took forever to finish. Plenty of time for me to automate all the phase 2 parts that I'm going to need going forward. I've added more towers to handle the steel parts and the motors. I also did over 10 hours of exploring and now have my dimensional depots fully upgraded and 2 alien power augmenters boosting my power grid. It's going to be a long time until I feel I ever have enough power, so that's going to be the first major focus of phase 3. First things first, it's time to give myself a little bit of power back. This temporary setup was really helpful in finishing the versatile frameworks in a timely manner, but as you can see, I'm using a few power shards and a few sloops, so this is using a pretty healthy amount of power, and I would like to get that back. I need 2.5 times the amount of versatile frameworks now. 250,000 is so many. But I don't want to just keep hand feeding more machines, so I'm going to clean this up and we're going to come up with a better solution. Now that I'm back at the hub, we can really start the phase. I know the logical thing would be to unlock oil processing first because I need plastic and rubber for pretty much everything else in the phase. But I really want the jetpack. I didn't automate all those motors for nothing. Thank you, Dimensional Depot. I don't have to go anywhere. Oh, it's so nice to have it again. Solid biofuel is so awful though. But I still prefer it over the parachute. Alright, I've got 4 minutes until the pod returns. Let me show you what we're gonna do. The fun and crazy part about random nodes. I've got a SAM node and a crude oil node just right here in the very middle of the grassy fields. I have noticed that some of my crude oil are in very inconvenient spots, but this one happens to be really nice. Let's just fast forward the last couple minutes and we'll get this started. Oil processing, here I come. While I was waiting, I got some foundations placed. Now we get to take a look at some new buildings. So how expensive? 200. Wow. Oil extractors are pricey. Does I still have room? Perfect. I think. It's not the greatest, but close enough. This is temporary. I promise. Just like my temporary steel setup, it'll probably last longer than I really want it to, but it is temporary. Because these default recipes really aren't the best use of oil in my opinion. So I start with 2 refineries. And man, those refineries aren't cheap either. Good thing I have all that extra power right now. First one plastic, second one rubber. This one produces 20 heavy oil residue per minute, the plastic only produces 10. I love this new pipeline T-junction. I'm so glad they added it. I just need one of those in front. And this way I can easily split it. Oh, I didn't change it to all pipes. There we go. Now I don't have to repaint them. There we go. So that's the crude oil and that'll feed into those two. And because I really prefer to keep the pipes on the ground and just not change the elevation if I don't need to, I'm going to place the pipeline junction down, but I want to make sure that I have space. So I'm going to be using lifts to go up and over the pipe. Now when I go to place my pipeline junction, I can make sure that everything's lined up. And actually, we could spin it around. What am I thinking? There we go. And this will group up the heavy oil residue between the two, so we can make these pipes purple. Turn on my flashlight for you. There we go. Those will just feed into another refinery. That will be making petroleum coke. Now this is only going to be clocked to 75% because I'm only going to have 30 heavy oil residue in total coming in here. So that'd be 90 petroleum coke. A coal generator uses 25 per minute, so you could power over 3 generators with this, and that would kind of help offset this new factory cost. There is a lake right there, and so that's really not a bad option. But because this is all temporary, and I just don't really want to keep it around that long, I'm just going to sink it. Got our nice new sunny day, but somehow I still have rain effect. Every once in a while I think it might get bugged. I don't hear it, but I see it. Now it's time to turn on plastic and rubber. I have to say, having the daisy chain is so nice for just temporary setups like this, where I don't really care that the power line clips through the refinery a little bit. If it's a factory that I'm going to keep, I'm probably going to want to tidy up the power lines, but just for convenience, this is awesome. So now, let's just connect this up and watch it come to life. It's not a lot, but now I've got 20 plastic and 20 rubber building up. Out of curiosity, okay, so since I have this thing underclocked to 50%, only 80 megawatts. These are both clocked to 100%, so they're 150 each. Oof. And then this one's underclocked to 75%, so it's only 102.5. And then we've got the sink for another 150. Surprisingly expensive for only 5 machines total. Welcome to phase 3. Oh boy. Now that I've got a little bit of plastic and rubber going, which one to unlock next? By the end of today, I'm definitely going to unlock and use this one. But first things first, I'm actually going to go with fluid packaging. And there is a very specific reason for that. Now that I have the packager unlocked, there's a whole bunch of hard drives that I need to start scanning because there's some specific ones I need for later on. But the real reason I wanted to unlock that milestone next was to build another temporary setup. You can probably guess what this is. I've got one water extractor that is just leading right over to here to my one refinery. I've got my 2 storage containers because this is a temporary hand-fed setup. Time to make liquid biofuel. If this isn't one of the first things you do in phase 3, you are missing out. Solid biofuel for the jetpack? Let's be honest, it sucks. And you are just gonna burn through a ton of it so fast. Best thing you can do is turn a whole bunch of it into liquid biofuel. And if you've never used it before, I promise you will be impressed with how long it lasts. And because it lasts so long, I really don't need this anywhere close to at 100%. At 25%, it would only make 15. Might as well get the most bang for my buck. I'm going to go ahead and sloop this. Underclocking it so much definitely helps when you're slooping it, and all of a sudden now it costs 4 times the amount of power. The water extractor is underclocked to a whopping 11.25. Might as well. And then the refinery leads into the packager. The packager will take the 30 liquid biofuel. It just needs 30 empty canisters, and that's how it gets packaged. And then just an industrial storage container and the depot. So again, since I don't have a ton of plastic, might as well get the most bang for my buck here. Underclock it to 25%, sloop it. Now I've got my 30 empty canisters per minute. I just need to grab some plastic out of my dimensional depot. Grab a bunch of the solid biomass that I have built up in here. We just drop off plastic in one, solid biofuel in the other. So I should hold on to some just in case. Since these are feeding straight into the dimensional depot, I just need to grab a couple out of here. Now I just need to remember to hit the little cogwheel and switch my preferred fuel type to the packaged liquid biofuel. And oh, look at that. This is just so much better. That is a huge improvement. I'm going to be able to get all the way to my hub. Now, the one downside is one of the most efficient ways to use the jetpack is to basically just spam the spacebar. The downside, it looks like I'm trying to orchestrate a symphony. And to me, that is a little distracting, and I think I have a solution. Time to get some coffee.
Official Fix-It coffee cup unlocked. Do not purchase unauthorized Fix-It coffee cups. They have been known to explode and attract wasps. Unauthorized Fix-It coffee cups lower your attractiveness to your preferred gender and/or your sense of well-being if you have no gender attraction or preference. Official Fix-It products can be licensed for your use from official Awesome Shop installations only. Come to the best shop on the planet for the best deals on all official Fix-It supplies, guaranteed.
Think this is a happy compromise. I usually prefer to hide my hands, but since this happens when you're flying around with the jetpack, I think the coffee mug is actually a little bit less distracting. I do love coffee. Next up, let's go ahead and knock out the Mark IV belts. It's gonna be a little while till I actually use a truck. I do really want to try to use the fluid trucks. They just look so cool. I want to see them driving around. But not yet. Because I already have everything automated, it's just kind of a matter of time waiting for the pods to return and when I can turn them in. I've already finished all of Tier 5 and one from Tier 6. I really wanted those blueprints. And that took pretty much all of the rest of the computers and heavy modular frames I had on me. All that exploring did pay off though. But now I can unlock industrial manufacturing and actually craft them. I've been keeping myself busy with hand feeding some more machines, and now I've got a nice little stockpile of AI limiters. This is probably going to last a pretty long time. And now I'm going to do the same thing, but with a manufacturer. I don't need a ton of them right now, but I would like to have some. Especially because I really want to be able to use the new blueprint designer, and I need both heavy modular frames and computers for those. So just another temporary setup, throw some parts in here. And I'll have enough computers to last me just for a little while at least. In hindsight, I should have done this just right off the bat. I don't know why I went so small with this because I've got the extra power right now. But as you can see, I'm still not even filling up my dimensional depot. I haven't built up any extra plastic or rubber. And since I'm only using 50% of the oil node, I can clock this to 100%. And it'd be really nice, I could add more foundations on this side to add another one. But unfortunately, I kind of ran myself out of room on this side. Just do one last double check to make sure. Plenty of room. Okay, we're good to go. That way, we can just take the easy way out. We are just going to clock both of these refineries to 200%. But I'll do the responsible thing on this side just because I have the room. I'll just add a second one. And doubling my plastic and rubber production is as easy as that. That's really not hard when you're only making 20 of each to begin with. And now we're over 19,000. Well, that was a noticeable little increase, but still plenty of room. If I take a look at the map, we can highlight the crude oil down here. So I've actually got quite a few. I've got an impure that's just right below me. And then there are 2 normal nodes over here. I definitely did think about bringing this oil out to the ocean, and at some point I may do that. But I'm not limited to staying in the grassy fields. If we come up here, while I was waiting for the milestones, I did a little bit of prep work and went out there. And this is going to be the spot for my first power plant. I'm going to use this oil, and then we'll probably use this one since they're right on the coast. I didn't realize just how nice that placement is for all of the normal crude oil nodes. when they're down in the middle of a cave, it is not nearly as convenient. The Spire Coast is going to look so different not having 90% oil, but we'll get there eventually. Right now, I'm going to head up to the Rocky Desert and place some foundations, and then we'll go through the new blueprint that I just came up with. I changed my mind. There's one last milestone I should get before I go out there. That's the Mark II pipes. Awesome!
Pipes seem to be objects of fascination to humans. In fact, there are reported instances of humans doing nothing but thinking about pipes for hours.
Humans do love pipes. And we are just going to keep scanning all these hard drives. Now I can head out to the Rocky Desert. I've extended the power towers all the way out to this back corner of the Rocky Desert. Once we get to here, now we get to drop down to our new location. I have so many hard drives to go through, and I just can't quite seem to get the right ones. I decided to lay a bunch of foundations for the second node that I'll be using also. But I'm tired of waiting, and I have so many in my hard drive library, and I still have 29 more hard drives to actually scan. I'm just going to be impatient, and I'm just going to use some of my rescans here. I'll just start at the beginning. As long as I'm not planning on using any of these in this next project, I'll be fine. Hey, and there's one. We'll leave this one in the queue for right now, and let's see, can we get the other one? Hey, I think those are the two I needed. Heavy oil residue, let's forget it leaves that menu, and diluted packaged fuel. Beautiful. Before I go through the blueprints, let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. This is a normal node, so fully overclocked, I can get 300 crude oil out of it. Using one of the new alternates I just got, I will turn all of the crude oil into 400 heavy oil residue and some extra polymer resin that I'm probably just going to be sinking for now. But you got to make sure you get rid of it or else everything backs up. Then I take that heavy oil residue and I combine it with water with the other new alternate recipe that I just got, the diluted packaged fuel. Now the trick is you have to package the water. Later on you can use blenders and just avoid the packaging. But the nice thing with these is you can make a closed loop. Because even though you need to package the water, it'll give you the fuel in a packaged form, which you then need to unpackage, and you get your empty canister back. The 300 crude oil that we're starting with will ultimately become 800 packaged fuel, which once I unpackage it, I can run 40 fuel generators. Or if I fully overclock them, I can bring that down to 16. And if you look at the other totals of machines that I need, rounding up to 16 would be pretty nice. Now, it's not going to give me nearly the power savings that I've been doing with my gigantic towers, but the thing is, I just don't want to do that with refineries. Mainly, I just don't want to do that with pipes. I think the more junctions that you have and the more times you split it and the longer the pipe you have, it just becomes increasingly harder to keep all of the machines at 100%. So as much as I would like to save the power, I don't think it's worth it. This will end up generating 10,000 megawatts of power, but it's probably going to use close to half that to generate it. We'll have to crunch some numbers once we have it all running. Now we can take a look at my new blueprint. These are again going to be in that weird spot where they're going to last longer than I want them to, but I have every intention of deleting all of these fuel setups. So the little bit of clipping I have with the wires, I'm just totally okay with. I just want this to be an easy blueprint to lay out and use, and then when I'm done, I can just delete it all in one go. Everything starts on this side, so we've got the crude oil. So as we can see, I'll be able to tile this blueprint one after the other, and the blueprint auto connect will connect the pipes for me. The main line of crude oil will just run straight down the middle, and then for each one, it'll branch off into the refinery doing the heavy oil residue. The heavy oil residue itself just goes right into the next refinery. The polymer resin just gets merged onto this line that will be able to group all of the polymer resin from all of these blueprints, and then I can just sync it easily. And with the blueprint auto connect, that makes this really easy. And here we have the fun little last part, where we have the recycle loop. I guess we should actually take a look at the numbers as well. The heavy oil residue refinery is underclocked to 62.5%. That way it's going to output 25 per minute. That 25 goes into this refinery, which then needs 50 packaged water, and that'll get turned into 50 packaged fuel. So both packagers are going to be outputting 50, and I preloaded the water with 40 canisters. I tried less. I tried 30, and 30 wasn't enough. The machines would turn on and off a little bit. So you might be able to get away with somewhere in the middle, maybe 35 you could get away with, but 40 works great. I don't need any more of that because the belts are so short. The water will get plugged into here. That will package the water. The packaged water then goes into this refinery. Coming to the other side, that gets turned into the packaged fuel. The packaged fuel then goes into this packager, which unpackages it, and the fuel will come out this pipe. And then right in between the two packagers, we just have the belt. So the empty canisters will go from here to here, and that will complete the loop. And then I just have one other blueprint for the actual fuel generator. And this will probably make just a little bit more sense when I put it all together. I don't think I really need too much of a gap right here. So we're just going to get this moved over right on the line, and that should just barely fit. Terrific. As long as I'm running all of these blueprints going this way, I think we should be fine. Let's place the first one. Good old auto connect. Now I have to make sure it's facing the right way. Else it'll auto connect all sorts of weird things. And I should be seeing the little link symbol both here and here for both the pipe and the belt. And that's what we like to see. So click it twice, and there that goes. Well, it's half of them. I think I'm going to add on just one more section here. Since that's half of them, and I don't really want it to go out that far, we'll have the pipe snake back around and go this way. But I know if we zoom up here, you can kind of see this rock is definitely going to be in the way, so I can't do another 8 at the same distance. If I try to do 8 starting here going back, I'm going to run out of room. But thankfully, each one of these setups are their own thing, and I only need to split off the crude oil, so it doesn't really matter where I'm putting them. As long as I end up having 16 of these things connected to this main pipe, it should all work out fine. Now let me show you how the other blueprint comes together. I'm going to take my fuel generator, and we're going to get it to snap to this one. Now, I don't think in blueprint mode it doesn't really want to snap to the right spot, and it's just really hard to get it to where it's supposed to go. So as long as I can get it to snap to these foundations, just H to lock it in place, and then just nudge it over the 2. Starting off at the very end makes it easy. I just want to make sure that these are all lined up. Now I can put this in straight mode, and that pipe is just going to go directly into there. And then I'm going to follow this same pattern, going to each of the new blueprints. So where the pipe is, this is the intersection that I need this one to line up with. Now it'll give me my nice 90-degree angle. You may have been wondering why I left so much empty space in these blueprints, because I clearly could have smashed them together and saved a good amount of space. It looks like I'm wasting almost 2 foundations for each of these blueprints. But there is a reason. I wanted all of these blueprints to be exactly 5 foundations wide. Fuel generators are 2.5 foundations wide, and so are the water extractors. I'm not really sure what exactly it snaps to, but I can get it to snap to right there, and if I lock it in place, I won't be able to nudge it, but it just fits perfectly right here. And that's just right at the perfect spot. Now this is probably not going to end up being the prettiest pipe, no matter which one I pick is going to be my guess. And I'm going to be placing way more water extractors than I need. So these are all going to be underclocked to 50, which will give me some nice power savings. And it has the benefit of keeping all the pipe work nice and easy, because now I just don't need any junctions. And like I said, all I have to do is just hold control and it'll just snap to right where I need it. And I can just kind of fly through here with my jetpack. And all of a sudden, oh no. Must be placed on deep water. So, oh, you can kind of see there's a little line. Oh, that's fun. Oh, that's weird. I didn't realize I could place water extractors like that. Oh, it does place like that. That is interesting. Oh, let's not keep that there. Well, if it looks like that is the farthest I can place it, let's just go to, I guess, here? Yeah, maybe snap that one there. Let's see. So I'm missing 1, 2, 3, 4. So I guess we'll probably... Oh, I guess that one's in the wrong spot. Probably just put them like this, and then I'll just have a foundation run out here, and then I'll just have to feed the pipes that way. I'll just have to get them as close as they can without looking too ridiculous. Let me place a few more water extractors and a few more blueprints. Brand new day. It's time to add some pollution to the air. Now that I have priority power switches, this seems like a really good place to use it. That way I can put this one and any of my other power production in priority group 1, and everything else can be somewhere lower than that. But I did have this disconnected to start, and I connected it to the main grid so I could completely fill up my crude oil. So now let's go on a quick little journey. Before the crude oil gets to the first blueprint, I just have another one of the T-junctions, because I wanted to create a huge loop. I think with this many junctions and this long of a pipe, looping it is a good idea. So then we come down here, and this is the start of the polymer resin. It's getting all grouped up. It just goes all the way down here to the end, and then it and the pipe just loop around to the other half. And we come back down this way until obviously the pipe goes back and completes its loop. And all the resin is just going to go into a sink. The nice thing, if I decide I'm short 100 rubber down the road, I can delete the sink, I can add the refineries, some more water extractors, and just turn that polymer resin into more rubber. Or plastic if I need that instead. Or hey, fabric. I could do fabric too. But now I'm to the point where one sink is the cost of one refinery, but I would need multiple refineries to get rid of all that polymer resin. So as far as power goes, the awesome sink is now my cheap option. Oh, that 5 times power. I ran into the same problem on both sides, which is not surprising. So I've got 4 water extractors on this side, and then the pipes just go out and around. These pipes are so much longer than the rest, that means that half of the factory will take just a little bit longer to turn on. And exactly the same on the other side. Having pretty much everything I needed included in the blueprint, and then the blueprint auto connect, just made this thing a breeze. So let's boot this thing up. There's a noticeable difference in startup time depending on how long that water pipe is. These very last 2 on either side took forever for them to finally get going. And I think that's mainly just because I have the water extractors downclocked to only 50 per minute, and so I'm really not filling up the pipe that quick. And the entire pipe needs to fill up before it can lift up the extra 2 meters to go into the machine. And the longer the pipe, the more you're probably going to end up dealing with that little bit of sloshing, which doesn't help at all. But we got there, and really it didn't take all that long. Get a little bit away from all the loud machines, and what's the verdict? Ooh, look at that. Over 37,000? Over 6,000 for my boost? Oh, that is beautiful. Let's just do some rough, quick math here. How much does it cost to actually generate all of this? Okay, so the heavy oil residue are 80.6 megawatts. The diluted package fuel refinery is 117.9. I think both packages should be the same. Let's see, 39.3. 39.3. And last for the blueprint, water extractor is 31.4. Alright, so each blueprint costs 308.4. And we can't forget about that. That thing does use up a bit, but let's just do total for this. So I've got 16 of these. 4,936. Fully overclocked. 671.6. Oh, man. To make 10,000 megawatts, it cost me 5,600. So I'm still getting less than 50% of what I'm producing. Oh, that's a bummer. But almost 5,000 megawatts, that's a whole lot better than any of the coal setups I was doing. Oh, and one last sink. I almost forgot. Plus 150. Okay. So 57.57 is how much it's costing me to make 10,000 megawatts. It could be worse. It's pretty wild that just this little setup, little in quotation marks, is close to half of the amount of power that I was already generating with those 200 coal gens. I've got another site ready. Let's do it again. This is another normal node, so fully overclocked. I've got another 300 crude oil to work with. And without that giant rock in the way, this is going to be much more symmetrical. I can't wait to have the hover pack. Having some elevation to build just makes things so much easier. Everything is so huge in this game. Alright, so I want things lined up right there on the edge, and then the pipe and the belt will just run right along the seam of those foundations. Let's get the first one placed, and then I can actually place both of them on either side. Although that might make things complicated, actually. Let's just go one side at a time. I think they're close enough to where the blueprint auto connect can get really weird if I try to do both sides at once. That's 1/2 in. Sure everything's facing the right way. Alright, so the belt will go this way again, loop back around, and head this way. Now I just need to make sure that it's only connecting to this blueprint, not somehow the other one. Okay. And that's another 16 sets of the blueprint. I have to say, having the dimensional depots fully upgraded at this point in the game is just so nice. Normally, I don't have them upgraded anywhere close to this high at this point. So things like the concrete and probably like the rubber and the quick wire would have been just a huge pain for me at this point in the game. But right now, it's a breeze. Just doing the exact same thing I did on the last set over there. I just need to make sure all of these foundations lined up, and it's going to be really easy to come back and just make that quick connection with the pipe. Pretty sure I forgot to mention why I made this a blueprint, but if you look at the build materials for this, it costs 3 power shards to build each one of these. All of these fuel generators are completely overclocked to begin with, and by doing that and putting it in the blueprint, thankfully you can copy and paste these settings and it will copy over power shards, but having it in the blueprint just makes it so much easier for me. Now I just go back with straight mode and connect all of these pipes. And now it's time for the water extractors. Make sure, okay, yep, these are clocked to 50. I can spam them all the way down. Except for, to no one's surprise, I run into the same thing I just did over there. So now we'll just line it on the back of this one, and then a couple more right next to it. And now I just need to do the same thing with the water pipes. Just going to go from this foundation and zoom it out. And then the pattern's pretty easy. The very first water extractor will go here. The second one Come to this next open spot. I'll connect there. The next one here. And there's the last one. Let me tidy this up so it doesn't look too bad and add a few more water extractors and pipes. Then I'll take you on the quick tour before we get it all started. Diluted package fuel number 2 is ready to go. And the crude oil pipe is pre-filled to make this a little bit faster. The pipe just drops straight down there, and then I added some stairs on either side, make it a little bit easier to get up and down. Just like the other one, I made a giant loop out of all of the machines. So before we hit any of the machines, we go right into the T-junction. And then on this side, I just needed to add a few more foundations so I could add a sink. We're at 36, just shy of 30. Okay, so we hit 37. So we should be hitting 47 after this. Here we go. And that's another 300 crude oil turned into, hopefully, 10,000 megawatts. Oh, look at that. That is well over the 47,000. I almost completely forgot about the power boost. Those 2 alien power matrix, since each of them add an extra 10%. Each time I add 10,000 megawatts with one of these, they give me a free 2,000. Can't argue with that. It should be reading 200 polymer resin. So it's looking close enough. These graphs are always interesting to look at. Thanks for the comment reminding me to pull these up every once in a while. It is interesting, isn't it? Well, it is sure nice having all of this power. Obviously, that is just way too much extra power for me to have laying around. Time to do something about that. It's probably not what you're thinking. I'm going to start deleting some of my old power plants. This is just a big juicy lake that I don't really want to use for coal, if I'm being honest. So it's time to just rip it all up. Thankfully these are blueprints so I can make this a little bit cleaner. So let me just finish this up and I'll show you the next step. It's a beautiful lake again, but not for long. The reason I wanted to clean all of this up, there's crude oil just right here. And this one is a pure node, which is equal to 2 normal nodes. So now I can double my oil power. And looking at my power, we're still looking real good. But let's be honest, it's never going to be enough. The beans are just waiting for me to build some more foundations. Now there is one downside with this location, is it's a decent sized lake, but I am somewhat limited on how many water extractors I can put in here. If we take a look at the spreadsheet, now instead of doing 300 crude oil, now I'm going to be working with 600. So I basically just double everything that I was doing. Instead of 16 blueprints, now I'm going to be placing 32. Which would normally mean I would want to place 32 water extractors. But placing 32 water extractors and all of those blueprints, there's just no way to fit it all on the lake level. And so that's why we've got all of these platforms on either side. I'm going to do 16 blueprints on this side, 16 blueprints on this side. And if you're thinking that's not enough room for 32 water extractors, you are absolutely correct. But we'll get to that in a second. Because I'm going to have the water extractors down here and the blueprints are going to be up here, I needed to create a very slightly different version of the same blueprint. So now I've got the diluted package fuel setup version 2. Alright, let's give myself just a little bit of space to work with, just in case. And same as last time, we're just going to bring this right to the edge. And then this way, the main oil line and the belt carrying all the polymer resin will be right down the middle. Alright, so let's go ahead and place it, and let me show you what's different. most of this is going to be identical. The main thing is going to be for the water. Yep, so far that's the main difference. Instead of having the water pipe down here, I have it raised all the way up here. Alright, let's just continue this row. Oh, I know that if I only press it once, I didn't have to press it twice. That means that the blueprint auto-connect didn't work. So I need to delete that one. Okay, that time click twice. Okay, terrific. So there's 8 on this side, and then just like the other ones before, I am just going to do another 8 on this side. But, oh, here we go. That one didn't connect. Why place them manually when I can just delete and replace it? I also made a slight change to the fuel generator. So it's still going to be completely overclocked. And now it's going to directly feed into here. Even with the auto connect, it won't plug into the machine, which is kind of a bummer. So if you wanted to, you could add a bit of pipe coming out of the machine, and then this could auto connect for you. I'm just going to go through and make that one connection. That's not the end of the world for me. Now it's got fun patterns to help it look a little bit more supported and hopefully make this whole thing not look too weird. I added some of the frame ramps, and I'm really loving the new beam that they added. Okay, so now with these, I can actually use it in blueprint mode. Just need to page down a few times. That's all the fuel gens for one half. And then we've got to do the other 8 on this half, and then double it on the other side of the lake. But there's one last piece I need to show you. The water. The water extractors are going to go back here. So this time, I'm going to place this right on the very edge. Now I'm going to use that to snap the back of the water extractor to it. Let's place the first one there. Get rid of that. For the other setups, I was clocking all the water extractors to 50. For this one, I'm going to be clocking them to 100. Meaning that one water extractor is going to feed 2 of these setups. And that's why this pipe is up here. I'm already going to have to use a pump no matter what. Because if I take my good old measuring stick, good old beam, as we can see, 10 meters is down here. Right there is as far as the water extractor can pump up the water by itself. So no matter what, I need a pump for this. Every 2 blueprints are just going to get connected together. And then right here in the middle, what I'm going to do is take a pipeline junction. And if I place this down here, now when I hold control, it actually snaps to that same spot. Now I can place my pipeline T-junction. And if you highlight these pipes, you'll notice that it comes all the way to the edge. Now, if I delete this and replace it, now you'll notice this one comes to the center of the T-junction, whereas this one doesn't go to the center. It just stops right after it goes into it. So I've heard that this kind of helps with sloshing and some of the other weird things with pipes. So one of the things you can do is just delete that section, and now both of them kind of look the way that they're supposed to. And then with horizontal to vertical, we can just bring this straight down here. A Mark 1 pump says that it'll go to 20 meters, and it definitely will. But both pumps actually give you a free 10%, so it'll actually go up to 22 meters. And that is about where that pipe is, but that's just a little bit too close. With the 5 times power, Mark 1 pumps are 20 megawatts apiece, and the Mark 2 are double, 40 megawatts apiece. So it is a bummer, but it's a power plant, and I just want it to work, and if it costs me a little extra power, oh well. I think you get the idea. Let me place everything, and then we'll run through it. Okay, well, it's all in. I'll be honest, mistakes were made. When I built the 2 platforms to hold all of the blueprints, so this side and this side, I could have sworn that I stretched out a foundation and made sure that they were level. Apparently I didn't, because the 2 sides are off by 2 meters. which I don't think is really ideal for creating a giant loop like this with the pipe. We've got the crude oil coming from right back there. It heads down, splits to either side. This side gets to go down. The left side, I have no worries about because it's the lower of the two. This one is always going to be full and it's always going to be running. This whole side of the factory, I'm a little bit more concerned about. I know it's only 2 meters, but I still think that could be enough to cause issues. The one thing I have going for me is it's just temporary. Once I split the pipe into the 2 halves, 1 half goes over here, and then we split it in half again. So this is a loop inside of a loop. And I've got my water extractor, comes up over here, splits between these two. These two then get grouped together, go all the way across to the back, and this is part of the reason why the pipes were set so high. That's because then I could get up and over all of this. Get it to feed to the other side, and then it does the exact same thing. They're just paired up in 2s. Everything's nice and symmetrical. So this is going to look very similar to the last 2 that I built. The only difference is now I've got a T-junction for the pipe. To complete this loop between the 2 halves, it goes all the way around. The curve mode is fantastic for when you need to change both directions and the height. I think it looks great. For the water pipes, this side didn't really have any issue. It was pretty easy sorting those ones out. On this one, we have a few rocks in the way, and so I had to get a little bit more creative, dodging all the trees and rocks and all that fun stuff, but no clipping. Or, you know, it's pretty minimal, the amount of clipping. Turns out these blueprints take up a lot of space. But I really love how easy these blueprints come together. This way, it really doesn't take too long to just add a good amount more power. Because I have Mark IV belts, I don't need to add 2 sinks. I can combine both halves into the very center. And I should end up with 400 polymer resin going into this sink. I always found the power connection for the fuel generators to be in kind of an awkward spot most of the time. But for daisy chaining, it is in a fantastic place. The water extractors are the total opposite. I really don't like daisy chaining them, but it is convenient. Alright, enough talk. Let's get diluted package fuel number 3 turned on. We're at about 46,000. Well, let's see what we jump up to now. If you couldn't tell by now, I decided to do the startup process a little bit different this time. The other power plants, I'm only using 300 crude oil, and because I was relying on the full 300, I just used the Mark II pipes because I think it just gives you that extra little wiggle room for any of the fluctuations. Here, I need to use the full 600 meters cubed. And whenever that happens, I think it's best to let everything back up. So with this power plant, I started with all of the fuel generators on standby, because they will still be able to accept all of the fuel to completely fill up, but they won't actually start running yet. And then the packager is completely backed up. All 40 of the canisters that the blueprint start with are now packaged, and it's got this part of the storage completely full. So now I've got a nice buffer of fuel. As soon as it starts using the fuel, empty canisters will go into here, and it'll start right back up like normal. But now this pipe is completely full. Both of the machines are completely full of heavy oil residue. And really, it's all about just keeping the crude oil pipe full. The rest of it works great because it's 32 individual little systems. My only concern is the crude oil. So best thing I can do is just let everything back up, and then once this thing completely shuts off, no machines are on and haven't been for a minute or two, and so this is all just sloshing in the pipes. Just slowly filling up. Well, it finally stopped moving. I think we're good to start turning them on. Downside is I have to go through 32 of these and flip a switch. But I consider it a small price to pay just to make sure that this thing has a much cleaner startup and hopefully a little bit more reliable in the long run. Really, I just need this to last me until the next phase. Now as the fuel is being consumed, we're going to start seeing all the rest of the refineries finally kick back on. Ah, feels good to add some more pollution. Of course, now we got to take a look. Oh, look at that. Nice. Getting over 70,000 now. Oh, that is awesome. Only consuming 40? Oh, the dream come true. Look at how much extra power I have for once. For how much power you get, it still costs a decent amount to produce this much power. Like, I wish it was a slightly better ratio than still under 50%. But this is a huge improvement over coal. This makes me happy. That is going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for being here. I am finally in phase 3. With all the prep work done in the past saves, I was able to hit the ground running and unlock almost everything very quickly. I now have a very small and temporary plastic and rubber setup going. And I have converted 1200 crude oil into 40,000 megawatts of power using the tried and true packaged diluted fuel alternate recipe. Now that I have some extra power, it's time to use it up. I need 250,000 versatile framework for this phase. I think I have an idea on how to get that done quicker than next year. So look forward to that, and thanks for watching.